This is a Senegalese lute. A lute, yeah? What do you do with it? Well, you know, it's used for fertility rituals. It's carved from deer wood. They use one every 7 years. And what do you do with it? You put your weed in there. The Water Boy. Adam Sandler, my good buddy, called me. I was doing some TV show or something. He said, we got a little something for you. It was just this one line, but he said, we'll do it and it'll be funny and we'll figure it out. And I said, what's the line? You can do it. And I'm like, what is it? I don't get it. He said, we'll figure it out. Just get out here, you know, come on. He just had, you know, different setups for you can do it. And he's like, you can do it. And I just remember it had a silliness to it. And I think it was a similar thing for the character I did on Saturday Night Live that was a similar idiot, and that would have a nice repetition and a rhythm to it. And then you'd see him several times, and it would be each time in different situations saying something stupid.
What's gonna happen tonight?
You'll see.
You can do it! You can do it all night long!
2 weeks before the movie opened, he called me, you know, because I still didn't quite get what we were doing out there. And he said, Robbie, said, hey, in 2 weeks, the movie's gonna come out. You're not gonna be able to go anywhere without hearing, you can do it. And I went like, and I remember thinking, oh, maybe he's right. It's been 20 years now, still happening. SNL. I think I saw Steve Martin performing in San Francisco when I was 13. And I remember like, he was in the same room as me in this huge auditorium. And I remember looking and going like, okay, well, he's a person. He's in the same room with me. He figured it out, so maybe I could figure it out. And that was about as intellectual as I got with the whole thing. And then I just started writing jokes. A sketch is like a sprint. It's just like you run for 2 minutes as hard as you can, and hopefully get a few laughs. People find it funny, and then they repeat it. I was up in upstate New York, in Rochester, New York. My girlfriend at the time took me to this place called Mama San's, and near that place was this African antiquities store. And I go, let's check this out. I go in there, and it looked like everything was like drums and like little shelves and like little drawers. Everything in there is like something like where my brother would hide his weed. So I went up to the lady and I just took a drum and I went, where's the weed going here? Huh? You know, right? Huh? And she just looked at me like I was a crazy person.
Oh, it's from New Guinea. It's a ceremonial spirit box.
Wow, that's cool. What do you do with it?
You put your weed in there.
Lou Morton came up with some great shit for that. This is a Senegalese lute. A lute, yeah? What do you do with it? Well, you know, it's used for fertility rituals. It's carved from deer wood. They use one every 7 years. And what do you do with it? You put your weed in there. And so, to me, the comedy stuff is a rhythm with hopefully an absurdist progression that leads to some places silly. Silly is king. Chris Farley. I just remember the first time I met him, he was checking in this hotel, because I never saw a picture of him, never seen him before. And I didn't know it was him, but I was checking in too. I need a smoking room, because I like to smoke, and I don't want to pay the extra $50 for the smoking room. So I need the smoking room, please, you know, or the smokers, because I like to smoke, I like to have smoke, and so I'm requesting right now a smoking room. And I went, who is this asshole? And he said, the checkup, the name is Farley. Check in your little roll-a-dinger, and there you'll find the name Farley, under Farley, F-A-R-L-E. And I went like, oh, hey, Chris, I'm Rob, and I'll be working with you this year. And then we went out to a Mexican restaurant called Joe's, and I never went back to that restaurant after that evening, because we were eating and drinking, and then the next thing we know, drinking, and then the next thing you know, drinking. And it was 11 shots at 11 beers. He's standing on the table naked, and he was hilarious, but frightening, because he wasn't a famous naked guy. He was just a fat, not famous, naked guy, drunk naked guy. But at the same time, it was just hysterically funny. I couldn't help but laugh, but I also never went back to that restaurant, and they never wanted us to ever come back to that restaurant. He's a guy that, like, there's not gonna be another guy like that. Everybody said he was funny, but he really was funny. He just, you know, do things that other people wouldn't do. Sweetest, nicest guy you'd most can imagine. Surf ninjas? We were over in Thailand. It's like, oh, God. They made the costumes in L.A. They didn't realize it was gonna be literally 98 degrees before 9 a.m. So it got up to like 110, 115 degrees. I remember like Leslie Nielsen, the guy from Naked Gun. We almost killed him because he was in a bear outfit and like, you know? And I remember like we didn't have any money for a boat. Supposed to be a scene on a boat. Neil Israel said, we'll just get somebody to paint I think we're in trouble. Demolition Man. The producer is Joel Silver. And he said, you have a terrible manager. And I went, why? I couldn't believe how hard it was to get you to be in this thing. And I went, because there's no lines. There's nothing. There's not a role here. He said, yeah, but you'll figure out. The first day on it, Sandra Bullock came up to me. She was doing a perfect Stallone impression. Hey, Rob, how are you doing? I'd never seen a woman, doing a Sylvester Stallone impression.
The place where you're supposed to have the toilet paper, you got this little shelf with 3 seashells on it.
He doesn't know how to use the 3 seashells.
Well, 3 seashells is a type of toilet paper. So there you go. Everybody knows. He doesn't know how to use the 3 seashells. You use the 3 seashells, you open it up, and the toilet paper comes down. How do you use the 3 seashells? We gotta lift them up, asshole. It's right underneath there. Seinfeld. So they had this thing of Bob, which is the guy who's like deaf, but not really deaf. And I said to Larry, I went like, is my character deaf in this thing? And he went like, I don't know. What do you think? I didn't write it. You wrote it. I don't know. Let's find out. I don't know. You decide. So I never knew. I got to watch the rehearsals. Guys, stick around. I'm only here for a week, right? So I'm watching Michael Richards and Jerry do the scene in Jerry's apartment. And Michael Richards is doing this, kind of blocking Jerry's way and doing this. And they're like, seemed to be nervous. And like, after the scene, I went like, Michael, what were you doing in that scene? And he said, well, in my mind, I had farted, and I didn't want Jerry to go into that area. That's what good comic actors do. They got stuff going on in their head. That something's going on, but you don't know exactly what. They're always thinking, And Michael Richards is one of those great guys like that. And then he told me, hey, great to have you here this week, Rob, but sorry this is not one of our better episodes. And I'm like, what? It's not? What? It's not? It's not, Jerry? It's not? Big Daddy. He wanted me for one of the roles, and then the studio said no. And they gave it to Jon Stewart to play like the dad. And I said, don't worry about it, Adam. That's fine, man. No, we'll do something else. He said, but the last thing left was just a Chinese delivery guy. And I went, like, dude, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. Nah, come out. We'll make something of it. I said, this guy, it shouldn't be Chinese. You should be like some like Eastern European, Russian-ish, Kazakhstan kind of guy. There was a guy that I knew who had a baseball card shop. His name was Yuri. And Yuri was the guy who talked like this. He's from Russia. He's a guy that when he talked to you, just made you feel horrible. And I thought, well, that's fun. And then if you're a delivery guy in New York, a greasy Eastern European delivery guy, people won't even acknowledge you or look at you. And that kind of made me angry a little bit. And I went like, well, that's a good attitude, And Adam would just say, come on. We'll figure out. I said, there's no lines today. Just come on out, we'll figure out something. So all the lines in there, he would figure out the night before while we were in a sauna together, coming up with jokes and whatever. And then I would come up with stuff off of his stuff. And it ended up being like a really fun role.
Hip-hop? Hip-hop Anonymous?
Damn you! You gave him the easy ones!
And truthfully, it was necessary in that role. He just kind of adopted a family and just kind of made it work, and then he just threw some funny stuff, and it was just Adam ad-libbing, and then me ad-libbing off of his ad-libbing. And Dennis Dugan being open enough to like, yeah, that'll work. I opened up the door, hey, you always order, I know you. You always order 3 pieces of cheesecake. When you're doing a movie, you got to get the laughs wherever you can. Deuce Bigalow. I remember my career several times being in the toilet because I had some movies that did okay, that didn't do great. So you have to come up with something else. And I remember like Adam was writing his own movies. He said, just write your own movie. Just write one. And I said, well, about what? He said, figure it out. And I remember, all right, I'll figure it out, So I was in my apartment in San Francisco, and I'm, flipping the TV, and I see this movie, Richard Gere in it. And it's like, it doesn't seem to be like a very believable movie where there's this guy, these beautiful women need to hire a gigolo, because, they can't get a guy. And it's like, hey, beautiful women, they can get a guy anywhere. This is a comedy. It just isn't a comedy yet. And I went like, okay, all right. I swear to God, like most of my ideas are not well thought out. That's one of them again. It's just a simple idea. And I just started writing this thing about like a guy. And I said, if I could just be like the most low level, like, guy, and I'm trying to think of what could it be like. And if a guy who's like, cleans fish tanks, and that's his thing, like a nerdy kind of guy that like is really good with fish, but not with people, and, seemed like a simple enough idea. I remember I wrote 85 pages, and I was on a plane with Adam Sandler. I said, he said, what are you working on? I go, let me read it. Let me read it. So he starts reading, and he's laughing out loud, hysterically, and I'm like, he must like it, you know? He's the first guy to ever read it, and he said, come on, this is hilarious. And I said, well, I'm gonna go home and finish it. And he said, hey, listen, stay here, let's have some fun, and then finish it after this week, and then I'll produce it. And I went like, wow, did my life just change right now? 50 First Dates. When you're a really famous movie star like Adam, you get to like show up on an island somewhere, and then you get the whole place to yourself, like the whole chateau or whatever the hell it is there. We were by ourselves there, and like, oh man. And then we were like kind of paranoid, because we were just by ourselves, and like there was somebody working on the land or whatever, you know? It was right on the beach. So let's go talk to that guy. So we talked to that guy, and he go, hey, excuse me, what are you doing here? What is your name? And he turned over and he had that milky eye and go, hey, my name is Ulla. How you doing, brother? Adam looked at me and said, you're gonna play him in a movie. And I remember thinking, he's gonna do it. And I knew it, and he, you know, and he did.
Okay, this is her. Start beating me up. Make it look good.
Give me the wallet.
So they had this shitty car, and it goes about 8 miles an hour, and uphill about 4 miles an hour. So we're on the side of the road. She's going, and there's like, I'm supposed to pretend to be mugging Adam Sandler, and then we're waiting for the car to come up, and so we had to ad-lib a little scene, and then ended up staying in the movie because it was funny. It was like, you come here and make my sister clean your hotel room, eat a pineapple, you know, what does that have to do with anything?
Okay, Howley, what do you think? You can come to this island, eat our pineapple?
Help me! Ow, not so hard. Take it easy.
Trying to bang our women. Making my sister clean your hotel room.
Okay, what does that have to do with this? Relax.
And it gave us a little bit, because you can have something on paper, but like, and then when you get out to do it, there's like a little hole. You got to fill that whole hole with something funny. And it ended up, you know, being appropriate for the moment. And then she comes with this fucking bat. You know, the stunt guy said, hey, you want me to tell, he looked at me with, ugh. And I'm like, eh. He said, do you want me to tell Drew to take it easy on you a little bit? Because it was like a bat with, you know, with rubber around it, but it's a fucking bat, right? I said, no, let her wail on me. She seems to be enjoying it. So as soon as she was hitting me, I just started just running, and I remember seeing like the cameraman just lifting the huge old-fashioned film cameras, and then following me in the chase. And then, you know, Drew, very instinctual actress, wanted to keep beating me, so she chased me, and then she just kept hitting me, and then it ended up being like from a laugh to a big laugh to a roar. When we screened it, you couldn't hear the screen anymore because the audience was laughing so loud. You dream for moments like that. We talked to Ulla and like, bring your family, we'll go out and have dinner. We should tell her we're into this movie and it's gonna be fun. And he brought like 40 people, you know? We had dinner like, oh, okay, it's 40. He's got a big family, you know? But the island people were super nice. They loved the idea of the movie and that make the island look beautiful and paradise like it is, you know? So that was a magical time.
I now pronounce you a chocolate.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this whole thing about, like, you're not allowed to play something outside your race. Well, I think there's only one race, the human race. And I think, you know, if I'm going to only play characters that are part Filipino and part German and Russian and Portuguese, then, like, what's that guy? You know, I think you should be allowed to play anything. There's a brilliant makeup guy. His name was Kazu. He would do amazing prosthetics. I mean, the best. And so Kazu, who's Japanese, an incredible artist, he did my makeup. And so I thought, well, if Kazu's okay with it, how can anybody else have a problem with it, you know? And he had me, you know, do a very funny Asian, you know, character. The fun thing about that was, like, I like to have characters I completely hide behind where nobody knows it's me, and that was perfect, because you couldn't tell. To be in a scene with Adam Sandler and Kevin James where they were laughing and couldn't stop laughing, and they get so frustrated because they're like, you know, it's just, and I went, I got both of you bastards, I got both of you. Dennis Dugan came up to me, Dennis Dugan, the director, and he said, come up with something here, like, you know, what they would say at a wedding, like, you know, it's a circle. There's no beginning, there's no end. It's not like a corner, you know, a triangle, because you get stuck in the corner. There's no beginning, and there's no end, because it's a circle.
That ridiculous 6.
Well, that was like the first movie that Netflix made, and it was with Adam Sandler, who's like the most watched guy in the world. He wanted to bring a group of guys together and a bunch of brothers, and he had some great scenes, and he wanted to make a Western.
That's tough to make a Western. It's expensive to make a Western. You gotta go somewhere to make a Western. So we went out to beautiful Santa Fe, New Mexico, and made this thing. And, of course, I don't get a horse, I get a burro. There was this beautiful cinematographer I worked with, Carlos Hidalgo Valdez, from Mexico City. He's a classic chilango, and he's the voice that would wake up dead people in the morning. Buenos días, señor. ¿Cómo estás? How are you? Amigo. So I said, okay, that's the voice. I don't know if I could do it the whole time. This is the Mexican voice for sure. And then we did the first scene. And again, it's Adam and I doing a scene together. And it's when we meet. I'm combing the burro, and I see him. And he says, hey, we're brothers. My brother. So I hug him. And I still have the brush in my hand, so I just start brushing him. And I just remember him laughing on the other side. And I'm like, I got you again, you motherfucker. And he kept it in the movie, And I remember I'm just hugging him, and I think I tried to eat his shoulder at one point. It's instinctual, it seemed funny to us at the time. And if it makes us laugh, it's got a good chance of making other people laugh. And that was kind of spanned a 20-year period of making movies with Adam. Real Rob. An interesting play, for entertainment is to do a show where the audience, you don't know how much is real and how much isn't real. I wasn't fulfilled with the sitcom that I got to do on one of the networks. And I said, let's do this. We decided to just make the first pilot, and they said, just make the whole series, and then we'll find a place for it. And then Netflix bought it. They paid for the second season, which was amazing. The second season's, every episode's 30 minutes. And you can really do something. You can actually take an audience someplace. And one of the things that Netflix insists on, and all these streaming services, people want to see an arc. They want to see where it's going to go. So you get to take an audience someplace. The best compliment you can ever have is, we watched the show in 2 days. So, it's a pleasure. And I look forward to doing some more stuff and maybe even making a few movies for them.